right, if you're going to run off the long jump in any of our meets, this clipboard will always be there, so it has all the rules on the back, so that you can, if you have any questions, you can just refer to this, and then you can always go back and ask a coach or someone else that has a better idea than you do of what to run off. For the long jump, it's pretty easy. There's only two things you need to make sure that you get down. The athletes are going to get an approach. They'll run down the runway after their 15-20 minutes of warm-up, and they'll take off from wherever you put the cones as a takeoff board. So here there's two takeoff boards. For your more advanced athletes, they might take off from back farther, but most junior high kids will take off from the front board. So when they take off, anything behind the last section of white is a good jump. So if they jump from here and don't touch anywhere else on the runway, that would be a good jump. If they jump from back here, you can count it. But if they jump like this, you just say scratch, and it doesn't count. You don't write it down. All you do is put a little mark through your tally sheet you'll have on your clipboard. If a jump is here and their foot rolls onto it, that is still a scratch, so you can't count that. So as they run down, I'm just going to go from a little bit, and I'm going to take off pretty far out so you can tell that it's a good jump. So they'll come down the runway, they'll jump, land in the sand, and as they land in the sand, this is the second thing you're going to have to check. So if everything's good there, that person that's checking there, you'll have one adult there says good, or good jump, or clear. And you'll have another adult standing down here to find the closest point to the takeoff board. So if the athlete falls back and their hand lands back here, that's where you have to measure from. So who's ever over here on this side is going to take the marker. All right, you'll have a little stake like this with the cord attached to it, so you don't have to bend over. They'll look, and for here, my heel right here was the closest point. So you just stick the marker in just a little bit, okay, so it can stand, and that should be one person's job. So you should have two running this event. The other person, all they're doing is taking the tape straight back to the closest point of the board. So if they jump off to the right, you want to come to the right side of the takeoff board. So for this athlete, they would have jumped 10 feet and 1/4 inch. Don't go to the 1/8 of an inch. Don't go to a 1/16 of an inch. Just go to the closest 1/4 inch. If it was a state meet or a sectional, we might go down to the nearest 1/8. So now you would not want to measure into the center unless the athlete jumped in the center of the pit. If they didn't jump in the center, you don't measure to the center. You measure to the closest point. So for this athlete that just jumped 10 1/4, you take your clipboard, which would have all the athletes' names on it, and you would just write 10 1/4 for their first attempt. And each athlete, most of our home meets, will get 3 attempts. Sometimes we'll tell you more if that pertains to that meet. But other than that, that's all you have to do for the high jump, other than or the long jump. When that person is done, you just take the stake out. Hopefully you have another volunteer or sometimes just an athlete, and you just want to re-rake the pit so that it's easy for you to find their spot again for the next athlete that jumps, and so that it's all leveled off so nobody's getting an advantage by you scraping out sand, because usually they'll get a little bit more distance if there's not as much sand in the pit. And other than that, those are the 3 main things you need to do for the long jump. You need to make sure their takeoff's good, find their landing, measure it, and rake it, and you're done, as long as the person writing it down. If the person's writing it down is the one checking it, that usually makes it easiest. They can pull the tape, see what it is, and write it down, or they can have somebody standing over their shoulder writing it down as well. So 4 volunteers is best, but you can do it with 2